Everyone's favorite pirate crew, the Straw Hats, are back again for another adventure in Netflix's season 2 of One Piece. With a world as wacky and goofy as the one that we see in One Piece, it certainly would have been a stretch to make it look good on the live action screen, but somehow in season 1 they pulled it off and I actually enjoyed it. So now we're on to season 2, and in this video I'm going to give my reaction and review to the first 3 episodes. But before we get started, this is what I do and this is what I talk about. I love talking about shows and movies, but it's not just One Piece that I talk about. I talk about all sorts of things, whether it be superheroes or Game of Thrones or The Hunger Games. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, please check out my channel and see if there's anything else that you like. Any sort of support, whether it be a like, subscription, anything like that, it helps out immensely, so thank you. So, episode 1, the beginning of the end. To start out season 2, we get a little intro where we get introduced to some new characters, mainly Nico Robin, Miss Valentine, and of course Mr. 3. They cause some havoc, and boom, we start. And we see our crew that everyone knows and loves, the Straw Hats, with Luffy, Usopp, Nami, Zoro, and Sanji. The gang of misfits that came together in the last season and are now headed on to the Grand Line. But before they can do that, they have to stop for some supplies. So where do they end up going? They end up going to Loguetown, which was the death place of Gol D. Roger, the king of the pirates, the man who stirred this all and put a golden age of pirates out there, all searching for the One Piece. That's Luffy's goal in all this, is to become king of the pirates, to find the One Piece, and he wanted to see the death spot of Gol D. Roger, a man that he looks up to, a man that he admires. So we get some flashbacks with Gol D. Roger and Luffy's grandpa. We get to see that Gol D. Roger has more influence in Luffy's life than he may know, and we get to see that through some other characters as well, where they see Gold Roger within Luffy, mainly in a standout new character, Captain Smoker, a man who will die at the age of 38 due to lung cancer from his 2 cigars and the 50 backups that he has strapped to his jacket. But with a deep voice and a jawline like that, you can do whatever you want. Along with Captain Smoker, we have his assistant, who I cannot be bothered to look up her name, unfortunately. But she is a swords master. She loves looking at swords, especially Zoro's swords. Speaking of Zoro, he bought some new swords. Speaking of Usopp, we weren't talking about Usopp, but he's just doing things. Nami's just doing things. And Sanji is, of course, looking for food for the crew, for their ship, for their journey. Luffy is being Luffy. He somehow gets separated from Sanji and then runs into, guess who? Buggy the Clown, who loves to say shit every other word. Shit-tascular. Is that even a word? I don't know, but I'm sure Buggy used it. Anyways, I'm not a huge fan of Buggy, but there he was, and joined by his new girlfriend Alvida, who I thought was skinny, who kind of is skinny, but kind of still isn't skinny. It's whatever. She's back, she's slippery, and a big ol' sneeze took her out. So we get our first fight of the season, where Luffy is fighting for his life. First the clown and his goons, and then eventually the rest of the crew join up with them and join the fight as Luffy gets dragged up to the execution block where Gol D. Roger got killed. Luffy gains aura points, laughs in the face of death, and then he somehow survives because a bolt of lightning strikes Buggy, explodes the tower that Luffy was on, and then Luffy, of course, since he's made of rubber, was not affected, and he was able to get out of there safely. And the rest of the crew as well, they all got back to their ship, and now, finally, they are off to the Grand Line. That was the gist of episode 1. I would have to give this a 5 out of 10. It was mid, it was not my favorite, and unfortunately I didn't think it was the strongest start we could have got, especially when you compare it to season 1. I thought season 1 had a very strong start, introducing some of the characters. The main characters, Luffy, Nami, and Zoro, and although this one was fun, it was, for lack of a better words, a filler episode in a show that is obviously known for filler. But it was a part of the story, an essential part of the story, the manga, the anime, so they had to do it. All in all, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. 5 out of 10. Then we get to episode 2, Good Whale Hunting. Things start to pick up. They are headed for the Grand Line. Navigator Nami points out the mountain that they have to go up and then back down to enter the Grand Line, because apparently they can't enter it anywhere else except for this one mountain in the whole world. So that's what they do. They go towards it, they go up it, they go down it, and they get swallowed by a whale. Just like Jonah when he was running from God's will, the crew of the Straw Hats found themselves in the belly of the whale. Except for Luffy, who somehow magically got to the nearby cliff and woke up there. Unfortunately, his friends were still inside. Luffy found this old grandpa who had a crazy haircut, manning the lighthouse, who loved to drug up the whale so that the whale wouldn't smack his head into the wall. Luffy breaks the man's door. He sits down with the man, and they talk about the story of the whale. Now, this part was actually really cool. We got a flashback, and we got to see, I forget his name because I never got this far into the actual manga or anime, but the skeleton who plays a violin and the one who always sings Binks's Brew. A great song, by the way. So when the flashback started and I heard that song, I was like, wow, this is cool. And you get to see the skeleton before he was a skeleton and before he's on the crew of the Straw Hats. So the merry band of singing pirates left for the Grand Line, left Labu, I think the whale's name is, behind in the care of the lighthouse guy, and then they never came back. And the whale got sad, and he thought, let me break down this mountain with my head. I know, he's a very smart whale. So that's what he did for the next couple decades. Unfortunately, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, and Zoro are still in the belly of the whale. And this is where we get introduced to yet some more characters. The King Guy, Mr. Nine, and Miss Wednesday, 2 assassins from Baroque Works. Or are they? There's a fight that goes on. They tie up the assassins. Luffy sings a song to the whale. The whale opens up his mouth and spits out the crew. Hooray, and they're on their way through the Grand Line and on to the next island. That was episode 2, Good Whale Hunting. That one I liked even more than episode 1, and I will give it a 6.0 out of 10. Still not the greatest, but it was better than episode 1, and it had a little story to it. Now on to episode 3, Whiskey Business. The crew still has Miss Wednesday, and her king sidekick Mr. Nine. We get to see Nami in a bikini, which makes Nami Nami. And as the crew spot the first island of their adventure on the Grand Line, the 2 assassins escape overboard. That's okay though, because they have an island to explore. So they go, they land, they walk through the town. And at first it looks menacing, but then everyone starts to celebrate. They love pirates. They bring them in, they have a party, they get them drunk, they get them fed, they get their women, and then terrible things start to happen. This island isn't all as it seems. On the other side, we have some side quest stuff going on. Yes, Kobe is back still, and so is that guy with the goofy haircut who was the axe hand guy's son. They're here. They team up with Lady who likes swords. They do some talking, I guess. And then Sword Lady goes with Captain Smoker because Captain Smoker wanted to chase after Luffy, but Luffy's grandpa said no, but you can still go to the Grand Line and look into these Baroque Work agents, which Smoker accepts, so I guess they're on their way to the Grand Line as well. Back to Luffy and crew, who are drunk and full and getting tied up by women. We get to see the first big fight of the season. This fight went on for literally probably 20 minutes of the episode, maybe even more, and most of it was Zoro being Zoro, the best, the greatest. Or is he? He is struggling with the fact that Hawkeye, whatever his face is, beat him easily with a tiny little knife. So Zoro goes ham. He starts beating up everyone in the tavern who are ambushing him. They find out that every single person on this island is Baroque Works and it's a trap, and that they lure in pirates, they make them happy, and then they kill them. Luffy figures out that Miss Wednesday isn't Miss Wednesday and that she's actually Princess Vivi. Same with Nami. Usopp and Sanji don't do too much. Then we go back to Zoro, who's still fighting 20 minutes later, and then he just beats up every single person in the town and eventually beats up the king. There are also other agents, higher agents, Mr. Five, and Miss Valentine, who we saw in episode 1. They come, they show off their powers. Luffy and Vivi and Nami almost get beat up, and Singing Guy, me, uses his hair as a machine gun, shoots up everyone, but then he ends up getting hit by shrapnel from an exploding barrel or something. Vivi cries, she's sad. Me Guy gets blown up by boogers, and then the rest of the crew somehow makes it back to the ship and escapes, or so they thought, because at the very end we see flower petals, and then there is Nico Robin on their ship with them. That was episode 3, Whiskey Business. I give that an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it a ton. It was a great fight. It was a great character moment for my favorite character, at least one of my favorite characters, Roronoa Zoro, and just the story in general of Baroque Works and the island and Princess Vivi being Princess Vivi, and of course the battles. So those were the first 3 episodes of One Piece Season 2. A few things that I really enjoyed is obviously the characters. There's interesting, fun characters, most of those characters being within the Straw Hats. I really enjoy Luffy. I really enjoy Zoro. When it comes to acting, I think Usopp actually does the best. That's one critique I have so far with this. The acting doesn't seem as great as it was in Season 1 with Luffy and Nami and Sanji. I don't know, but I think the Usopp actor still is killing it. I think Zoro actor is killing it. It's not like they're bad. It's just I could notice that it didn't seem as great of acting as in Season 1. Now, I am not being too harsh on this, though, because at the end of the day, it is just a fun, goofy show. It's there so that you can have a good time.
This is the most fun I've ever had.
Awesome! It's a fun pirate adventure following Luffy, who is following his dreams of becoming the king of the pirates. So it's a fun story. I think it will start to get even better as the story progresses, as the Baroque Work stuff picks up, as more and more of the other little arcs that are happening in the next couple episodes start to happen. I think the show will start to snowball into better and better and better. But as far as the first few episodes go, those are my thoughts. It's still a fun time. I still enjoy watching it, and I still am looking forward to watching the rest of it and reviewing it as well. But to recap, episode 1, 5 out of 10, episode 2, 6 out of 10, and episode 3, an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed that episode 3. I really enjoyed that Zoro fight. And I actually thought that the King dude, Mr. 9, did a fantastic job as well. How was he like on the verge of tears every single time? It was crazy. He looked just like his character in the manga, and his voice was pretty freaking good. And I like how he stuck with his guns at the very end and didn't give up Miss Wednesday or Vivi at the end. Very honorable for someone who we only got to see for a little bit, but he still had a huge impact, at least for me. Those are some of my thoughts on this show so far and my little summary and review of it. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I always enjoy reading through your comments and reading through your thoughts. It's always a good time, so don't be afraid to put those down below. That being said, if you got this far into the video, thank you so much for watching it. I really do appreciate it. And if you liked it, please leave a like and consider checking out my channel to see if there's anything else that you like. Like I said before, any sort of support is greatly appreciated. Now, that is it for my review of episode 1 through 3 on Netflix's live-action One Piece Season 2. I will be back again to review the following episodes, but until then, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to eat your veggies, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, bye.